I'm going to talk about an idea today that I have been thinking about for a number of years. I'm a professor of marketing and I work at a school of business. Before I joined academia, I worked as a marketing professional. So I spend a lot of my time thinking about marketing and business. And most people who know me will tell you that I love marketing, that I get excited when I talk about marketing, sometimes maybe even a little too excited. And I'm aware that most people, including some of you in the room today, do not share my love of marketing. No Logo by Naomi Klein might even be your favorite book, and that's okay. Because I think I know at least one reason why marketing and business are often met with skepticism and sometimes even disdain. My explanation for why not everyone loves marketing to the same extent that I do rests on the warfare language that we use in business and the idea of conceptual metaphor. I'll get to the warfare language in just a minute, but we'll start with metaphor. Metaphors are figures of speech that compare two things. The special aspect about a metaphorical comparison is that it is not literally true. It is symbolic. When we say listening to this talk is torture, we do not mean that we are literally being stretched on a rack, but rather the experience of listening to this talk feels like what we imagine it might feel like to be tortured. And I surely hope that's not the case for any of you in the audience today, and I will do my very best to avoid that. Metaphors are especially powerful when we need to explain something abstract. They allow us to create a comparison of the abstract thing to something more concrete. This is what a conceptual metaphor does. Take, for example, the abstract concept of time. We cannot hold time in our hands, and yet time is incredibly important to all of us. In Western societies, we conceive of time as a finite resource. Time is money. We save time. We talk about time well spent, spare time, free time, out of time. Another example is the metaphor, argument is war. We see this in phrases like, his claims are indefensible, she shot down all of my arguments, or I've never won an argument with you. The reason I think people do not love marketing and business like I do is because of the dominant metaphor in our society that tells us business is war. The essence of metaphor is understanding and experiencing one kind of thing in terms of another. And when we compare business to war, we influence what we think about business and how we experience business. In preparing for this talk, I wanted to include a few visuals. So I did a search for images on Canva using the terms business, marketing, competition, and strategy. This slide shows the results of my search. The business is war metaphor is present in all of these images, and it's also present in the following business concepts, and I know most of you will have heard of at least one of these. How about a target market? Price wars, brand wars, trade wars, anyone? Guerrilla marketing, not the animal, executing strategy, attacking the competition, defending your brand's position, capturing market share, and stealing customers. The business is war metaphor infiltrated corporate boardrooms. See how easy it is to use that metaphor? Following the end of the Second World War. Many of the soldiers who had been in active service entered MBA programs and began working in business. They brought with them a deep understanding of military strategy. The Art of War by Sun Tzu, a Chinese general and philosopher, and On War by Clausewitz, a general from Prussia, would become revered texts in business strategy. Corporate leaders ran their businesses as though they were battling for market share and trying to eliminate competitors. This gave business a sense of urgency, and it moved people to action. But you're also familiar with the saying, all is fair in love and war. And if you think business is war, you might also think that unethical behavior, such as corporate espionage or price gouging, is justified if you are facing down an enemy. And you certainly don't focus on how your products help customers. Instead, you see customers as passive resources to be won by the strongest side. Do you remember the cola wars of the 1990s? I'm sure many of you took the Pepsi challenge. What about the tech wars? I'm a PC, but I'm a Mac. Or when Dunkin' Donuts decided to take on Starbucks, it was called the Battle of the Brews. The world of business seen through this metaphor is zero sum. There are winners and there are losers, and there's nothing in between. But this is not how many of us see the world today. Like many of you, I do not like the idea of having a target on my back. I don't want brands to be battling for ownership of my mind, and I find the thought of advertisers waiting to pounce on me when I least suspect it unsettling. The idea that business' war is also fundamentally at odds with what most experts consider the core of marketing and business, and that is creating, delivering, and exchanging and communicating value. Peter Drucker, perhaps the most well-known management expert of his time, said that companies exist to serve their customers. Today, business leaders are focusing more and more on the importance of sustainability and environmental consciousness. There are a growing number of social entrepreneurship courses and socially focused MBA programs in business schools. And some experts are calling for the abandonment of warfare metaphors in business education. I think the newest generation of business professionals are less likely to support the use of military-oriented decision-making. The metaphor, business is war, is unlikely to achieve the status of truth for the current business environment like it did in the past. So what's the answer? How do we separate ourselves from the long-standing practice of using war metaphors in the boardroom? The way I see it, we need a new way of thinking about business altogether. A way that highlights the social aspects and focuses on the creative, value-generating aspects of business. A view that recognizes the importance of partners and relationships. Imagine how things would change if instead of thinking about business as war, we thought about business as dance. Let's go back to the metaphor, argument is war. What if the point of an argument wasn't to win? What would change if we saw an argument as a dance instead of as a war? You dance with a partner, not an opponent. A dance has a beginning and an end, and you can be good or bad at dancing, but you don't win or lose. I think we can extend the same logic to business. If we could see business through the lens of dance, then customers wouldn't be segmented and targeted, they would be selected and chosen as partners. Managers wouldn't be generals on the battlefield, they would be choreographers. Customers wouldn't be passive objects to be won, they would be active participants. Businesses wouldn't focus on defeating enemies, they would focus on co-creating value with their partners. Unlike war, when a dance ends, there isn't a winner or a loser. Nothing is destroyed. Much the opposite. Dance is a creative undertaking. Value is created through the partnership of dance. If we make this change and begin to see business differently, imagine what that would mean for future entrepreneurs and business leaders, for all of us as customers and clients. There would be more room for collaboration and cooperation amongst firms and suppliers within an industry, and more emphasis on co-creating value with consumers and clients. In the province of Saskatchewan, we have very successful examples of businesses that prioritize collaboration. Federated Cooperatives Limited and Connexus Credit Union are two examples. Some of the newest entrants into the business world, social media influencers, regularly collaborate collectively to build their followings. We might have more students entering business schools with broader perspectives of the role that business can play in society. Working together, we stand to have a bigger impact on value creation for all groups. If we can shift the language we use to describe business, we can shift our understanding of business from something negative and destructive to something beautiful and creative. Thank you.